Hey folks, Dr. Mike here for the Making Progress channel. Today's video number 36 is immigration. That's right. I'm going to fix immigration all at once. Stay tuned. In any case, 4 things to talk about today. One is kind of defining what immigration is, talking about the downsides of immigration because they do exist, talking about the upsides of immigration, and then a rational policy proposal for immigration, kind of maybe to move us in that direction so we can have a little bit of a time where things make more sense than less sense in immigration policy. Because right now they make a lot of not so good sense. So defining immigration, why do people move to another country? It really is, for almost all immigrants, very, very simple. And I'm actually an immigrant myself. For full disclosure, my parents moved our family from the former Soviet Union, aka Russia, in 1991 to the United States of America. Best thing that ever happened to me in my entire life. Thank fucking God. Thank my parents, actually. So full disclosure, I am an immigrant to the United States of America, which is trippy to say because I sound like one of you, don't I? Scott the Video Guy, aka Boris. Cue the KGB shit. Da-da, da-da. And then the red shit. Remember, Scott, when they get shot in James Bond? The best. Fucking best. People really just immigrate for one real major reason, and that is that they think they will be better off in the country they're going than in their current country. It's not rocket science. They move into the new country to have a better time of things. Now, there are many sub-reasons and complexities to why and how and when they move, but it really can be, and for the most part is, just that simple. People go to somewhere else because they anticipate it's going to be better than where they are now. And oftentimes, it's a different culture. It's a huge transitional step. It costs a lot of money. It's risky. It could be a different language. So they must really, really think the place where they're going is really, really a lot better than where they're coming from. Sometimes that's the case. If you move from like Ethiopia to France, that's probably the case. If you move from France to the United States, you're maybe like, let's try something different. I mean, no. And plus, American girls, as soon as you drop that French shit, French guys, if you don't know this, you come to America, you talk to anybody. That's it. Game over. Sexiest accent of all time. In any case. So that's immigration, just people wanting to go to a better place. Sounds great, and it is. But there are downsides in immigration. I can think of a few of them. This is probably not an inclusive list, but at least get you thinking into the same mindset. First, big downside is potentially people move in and change the laws of the country where they move to on different values that they bring with them from their home country. For example, Iran, the Islamic Republic of Iran, is unlikely to want a lot of LGBT immigration. If they get an LGBT immigration wave, it might freak them the fuck out because they're explicitly anti-LGBT. Do I judge them for it? Yes, I think it's demonic. But are they entitled to their own sovereignty and to be dicks in their own land? Yeah, you can make an argument for that. So sometimes people don't want their culture changed. And of course, there's, if you are Singaporean and you value sort of liberty and independence a lot, and another culture starts moving in and starts to make it more about the community versus the individual, you might feel that that's weird, or other way around. Americans start moving into your little socialist paradise somewhere, and all of a sudden they're all individualistic and money grubbing, and you hate it. So totally, and they can even change the laws based on the values, and then it's no good. So totally understood. That's a way that immigration. That is a fear people have when immigrants are coming in, and it's often a realistic fear for sure. Another problem with immigration potentially is that people move in and they don't just get into the workforce and start producing lots of value. They need lots of help to be productive as the locals. And this can unfold in a few ways. Sometimes the help works very well. People get in, they get the language training, they get their first job, and then they're fucking off to the races. And then in 5 years, they're richer than everyone. Most of the groups of Americans, the sub-ethnicities of Americans that make the most money are not native-born Americans. I think per last I checked, the household data is per household. Indian Americans, like the people from India, they're richer than everyone else, and so it's kind of like a weird flex to be like, yeah, man, it's fucking immigrants come here and then just sap off the welfare state. A lot of them just overproduce, and now your bitch white ass is sapping off the welfare state. So that definitely happens. However, it doesn't always happen. So to the point of the bro voice guy, sometimes the help you give them encourages many to cling to the welfare state and establishes a lower class. Evidence, France, Germany. If you're French or German, I don't have to explain to you this any much more than you're already familiar with it, but there are entire, dare I say, not entirely seriously, castes of people who pretty much just went to France, Sweden, Norway, etc., for the social welfare benefits. They're obscene and insanely generous, and this is kind of what they do. They just sit on welfare. They had no other plans. They knew the welfare was there. It was free money. They moved from wherever the fuck, Africa, Middle East, some parts of Asia, and bam, they just do that. And that's kind of not great because, first of all, lower class is fucking weird. It's kind of irritates our sense of justice and social mobility. And also, like, it's a little unjust because you're like working your whole life to pay, and then these people just show up. They never contributed to the tax base, and now they're getting welfare. And you're like, do you have a plan to get productive? And they're like, not really, man. And that's kind of strange. It's really, really icky. And in other times, the help doesn't work out so well, or the help that they get in adjusting to the new culture or country works very slowly, and you just have a lot more poorer people around. And then for the real cherry on top, extreme leftists in your country will blame locals for the any and all inequalities that the immigrants have. Like, the immigrants came here with nothing. They didn't work super hard. They got on welfare. They're cool with it. And all of a sudden, it's the fucking guy who was born in England's fault that there's fucking poor people from somewhere else. And it's because you're something, inequity or some term I learned in college. It was supposed to make me a better person, but I just say because I don't know what it means. That shit happens. No good. So definitely some downsides. There are worse downsides than this. And these are the big downsides here that I'm going to describe, this category of downside that is, in my estimate, outside of sheer unadulterated ignorant bigotry, the number one real reason why people who are iffy on immigration are iffy on immigration. And here it is. The people that move in are less social than the locals. I'm going to use a politically incorrect term that frankly I don't give a fuck about anymore. They're less civilized in the literal sense. Let's talk about what that means. Some or all of the following may apply. The folks that show up are louder in public. That's not a bad thing. You're allowed to be vivacious. You know what I'm saying? Like, Italians are kind of fucking loud, but they're great. If you're loud compared to the local culture that expects you not to be loud, there's a fucking problem. I've never been to Japan, but if I go walking around a small town in Japan and just speak in my normal voice like I do to my wife, and my wife's also fucking loud, it's going to disturb people. And it's technically noise pollution. And they're not having as good of a time. They're the peaceful, quiet shit, and you come in there just fucking loud. If whatever culture you're from, you got to renorm your shit so that you're at least within tolerable bandwidth. And some people just don't do that. And that's why they don't want you to move to Japan, because you're going to be fucking loud and annoying. That's why I don't live in Japan. At least one of the reasons. The other was, insert joke about me not being allowed to go to Japan for XYZ misunderstandings here. Here's another one. Real talk, right? And again, you got a problem with the shit and you got all kinds of leftist bones in your body. I'm an immigrant, by the way, to the United States, and I'm an immigrant on asylum from an attempt at ethnic cleansing, the pogrom in the late 1980s in Moscow, Russia. So 2 middle fingers in the air. Shit can't touch me. You're not going to fucking cancel me for this shit. The people that show up and are immigrants can smell bad. Smelling bad is in some sense a subjective thing. What smells bad to you may not to others. But it throws you off. And especially to people that, well, let's just be charitable, aren't so smart and a little bit prone to bigotry to begin with, that's just giving them a whole crapload more ammo to fire off, which is no good. And you don't consent to smell. Just like noise in a busy street and people yelling really fucking loud in your neighborhood, when you smell people in an elevator, you can't get yourself out of that. Like, there's not a way you can plug up your nostrils. You can, but then you don't smell the freaking beautiful flowers and the rest of your great society that you've built. Again, like Korea, Japan, etc., the people are places that are just nicer than most of what we experience. And so when you go there, if you're loud and smelly as shit, which I'm both of those things, it's you could tell why maybe they're not super jazzed about immigration. It's totally understandable. It might not be right in an ultimate ethical sense, but at least you can understand why they might not vote enthusiastically for fucking let all the immigrants in. Sometimes people show up and they litter more. This is a really, really big fucking problem. You go to a lot of places in the world and there's just trash everywhere. You go to some of the nicer places in the world and it's clean as fuck. If you come from one of the shitty places in the world and you don't change your fucking habits, you start littering everywhere, you're going to be not welcome real soon. And you're going to say it's racism. You're going to say it's bigotry. You're going to say it's this and that. And you're going to be wrong on all of those because it's just you litter a lot and nobody wants fucking garbage in the street. So that's a potential one. And it happens with real people, not naming any names, Russians, anywhere else. JK, sort of. That's the thing. Here's another one, really up to where Russians move, is you're rude to people. From some cultures, they just talk and it's normal. You look at two Italians arguing in the street, they're having a great conversation. You think they're about to get in a fist fight. I swear to fucking God. But if an Italian person is interacting with a Japanese person in a Japanese person's store, the Japanese person will be like, holy shit, that's the rudest person ever. You're like, it's just from New York. Now, that's good consolation to you because you know what it means, but to them, they don't. And they're like, okay, is New York a place where just like everyone's a wild animal? And you're like, come to think of it, sort of, but we all like it. And they're like, why don't they go back to New York? Don't move here and be fucking rude to me. So rudeness is definitely a thing. And again, culturally, there's cultural context, but there's also absolute levels of rudeness. And if you're really absolutely high in rudeness, you can understand why countries have absolutely low levels of rudeness, may not want you coming in and mucking up the works. And the last one, and this one is by a long shot, the most compelling reservation about immigration people can have. It is that the people coming in are more criminally prone. And I'm not going to break your bubble here on this channel, folks. You probably figured out somewhere else that not all of people in all cultures in all different places have the same criminality as everybody else. And sometimes, like, that's cool. Russian mobsters, they're fun. Yeah, Russians are tough, dope. But nobody really needs the Russian mob to move into where they're living. And they could. And then there's more crime. And then that's bad. And then you don't want any more Russians moving to where you are. Guys, by the way, I'm Russian. Feel free not to take offense to any of this. Criminally prone people coming in, immigration-wise, policy-wise, consent of the people-wise, is basically a non-starter and a gigantic stick in the spokes of anyone that wants free immigration. If this right here wasn't a factor, immigration debates would slide notches over to just let's just have much more of it. Yeah, some people are loud, they're smelly, but there's all these upsides. I'll get to the upsides in a bit. And the upsides are way bigger than people being loud or smelly. But the crime one is a real big one. And ignoring this reality in some cases is a bad idea. In the United States, we have a lot of illegal immigration. The vast majority of those people just want to work. Like, what do Mexicans do? Mexicans don't even immigrate to the United States anymore. It's Central Americans now. Mexicans have a good life in Mexico. Back in the day when Mexicans used to come in, the insanely vast majority of Mexicans just go to work and they work harder and better than you. That's why they have a job and you just fucking sit on your couch. JK. Mexicans are fucking amazing. But some fraction of Mexicans, they're not like the rest of them. And the rest of the Mexicans are like, I sure hope that guy doesn't move, but sure shit cross the border too. And they're fucking criminally prone. And if you don't recognize that, look, we need legal immigration to get all the good people of the world to come in and fucking party with us. Amazing. But we need to make sure we don't let the criminals come in. So when you have people usually on the extreme left, like everyone needs to get in and illegal immigrants are still human. There's no such thing as an illegal person. We're like, that's true. There'd be a lot of bad people and they're going to come in. And we don't want any more bad people. If it was ethical, we would send our own prisoners the fuck to some other place. So if you're importing a ton of criminally prone people and you're expecting everyone in your country to just swallow it on kind of goodwill, it's a fucking problem because they see crime going up in the streets, in their towns, in their suburbs, in their cities. They're going to vote against immigration. Is it a nuanced view they have? No, not at all. Can you understand where they're coming from? Yeah, you fucking kind of can. And if you're really on the left and you're persnickety about all these videos I've been posting because you're pissed at them, because you don't agree with a lot of it, dope, I totally respect you. You could be wrong, you could be right. But you push this far enough to where you allow enough criminally prone immigrants in and you tell everyone who's lived there to just shut the fuck up about it because you're elitist or supremacist or whatever and you don't get a say. This is how you get fascist movements, guys. Evidence, much of Europe in the year 2023, right? Like, I'm recording this in 2024. Last year, man, so many countries in Europe elected like not fascist leaders, but fucking really hard right. And what was their rallying cry? Immigration. It was because they didn't like to see a certain color of people on the street. Bull fucking shit. 1 out of every 100 racist people is that fucking racist. Why? Because people bring in crime, bro. Not all of them. but some do, especially from some places where their crime rate's 10 times higher. And crime is just a normal thing they do. They did it there, they're going to do it here. That's what happens. And if you don't acquiesce to the fact that that's real and work with your fellow citizens to try to figure out, like, okay, some people are criminals, some are not. We want the good people here. We don't want the bad people here. Let's try to make it work. If you're like, no, everyone comes in and crime's not a thing, you're going to butt up to some real gnarly pushback. And that pushback can go too far. And then neo-fascism. I don't think anyone wants that because it usually just leads to losing world wars. Bad idea. Lastly, overcrowding is not a real concern in immigration, never was, isn't, probably never will be, because we just don't ever run out of space realistically as humans. Anytime you think overcrowding is a concern, almost always and almost everywhere, it is the insane regulations imposed on the construction of new housing and the fluidity of being able to rent that housing out to various tenants. That's really the problem. So overcrowding, just not an issue. Some people say like, well, I've heard this from, well, sort of insane, not so smart, regular folks that live in any given country. But yeah, goddamn immigrants, man, it's crowded as enough as it is. No, it's not, Jim. You're just a fucking idiot and you never passed school. So overcrowding, not a concern. But, less than social folks coming in and mucking up the works, definitely a concern. Sounds pretty bad. So I'm still largely pro-immigration. You think, why? There are humongous benefits to immigration. Let me tell you about a few of them. One, I think there's four. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 benefits that I can think of. First, basic economics. The average human is net productive. That means the average human produces more value than they consume, which means the more people you have in your country, the more value you are able to generate. China is shitting its pants right now because its population is going through a little one of these peaks and then it's about to descend. They start losing numbers of people. They're not like, oh, thank God, man. We had overcrowding, bro. We had too many goddamn people to feed, too many mouths to feed. This is China's real great time now. No, they're freaking the fuck out. And all the economists are like, hey, you should be freaking out because people are not productive. It's like, think of society as a basketball team where everyone plays their role. And it's a team in which it's a basketball court on which actually, yeah, you can play basketball at the same time with that many people. You're losing players, man. You're going from 5 players on a team to 4 to 3 to 2 to 1. This is bad news, man. You're not playing basketball any better. And the more team players you have, the better. So more productive people means everyone is richer. It's better for the whole economy for you to have more people. Straight up, more wealth is created for everyone because wealth is exchanged and traded and so on and so forth. And to that exchange and trade thing is the second point. First, you have a net increase in the number of value producers in society, which is fucking awesome if you have immigration. Second is specialization in trade. Immigrants do different kinds of work and they fill in the blanks for locals. There's a lot of jobs that like Swedes in Sweden just don't want anymore. Like, hey, Hans, clean this fucking toilet. He's like, fuck that. I'm going to fucking technical academy. I'm not cleaning a fucking toilet. You're like, all right, dope. Well, we don't have robots yet. What do you guys want to do about it? Either the toilets don't get cleaned or they do get cleaned. We have to raise the amount of money we pay for a toilet cleaner to like $100 fucking dollars and euros an hour because people just don't do it for any less. And we don't have that many people. There's like a couple million of you assholes and there's more toilets than people at this point. What are we supposed to do? Well, you bring in immigrants from another country, they'll gladly clean the fucking Swedish toilets, which are probably cleaner than just most surgical surfaces at this point anyway. And they'll do the job that other people don't. And then so we'll have more people doing more jobs, more shit gets done. Everyone wins. It's incredible. And a slight bonus, and this is a very slight bonus, but it nonetheless is a real thing, is a cultural enrichment. Imagine American food, for those of you who live in America or have visited, without the following exogenously introduced food groups over food, culinary cuisines over the course of our immigrant tradition. American food, right? No Hispanic, no Italian, no Polish, no Irish, no Thai, no Chinese food. Motherfucker, what are we eating? You guys ever had traditional English food? This shit is fucking vomit-inducing. It's terrible. I don't want Puritans making my fucking food. Oh, today you got oats and fucking diced chicken and a little bit of salt in case you're feeling zesty. What the fuck? Where's the goddamn fucking Thai food, motherfucker? Oh, we don't let the Thai people in. The fuck? I'd trade 3 of you for one of them. It's better for everyone. Immigration is unbelievable when it just doesn't come with shitty, scummy people that commit a lot of crimes and dirty up the place. Next, meta value for immigration for the whole world that's really good because of the vote by feet sort of logic. If lots of countries in the world have significantly freer immigration, an opportunity for more people to move to where they want. That means more people move to the best places. It's a statistical fact that if America dropped all of its regulatory burdens on immigration and invited everyone in the world to come, based on the surveys people fill out all around the world, I mean, America's population might be like 1.5 billion like the next year. That's how many people, the huge fraction of the whole world wants to come to America. Because it's fucking awesome here. Because it is. And in Europe and in Asia, and there's tons of awesome places. People want to leave the shit places and go to the awesome places. If you let mainland Chinese people move to Taiwan and get a citizenship because total free immigration, not a lot of people from Taiwan would move to China. But like, I don't know, a third of China would move to Taiwan and make it a megalith, even more than it is already. If you have freer immigration, you're not allowed to hold your people hostage and you're not pushing people out of your country. This radically incentivizes the world to change for the better very fast because this makes reform, an impetus for reform in the worst places of the world, kind of like a do or die, do or wither away really fast sort of thing. If you're running some dog shit country in the fucking Middle East that sucks and everyone wants to leave, if you don't run it better, you're going to lose all your citizens. So what do many oppressive countries do? They make their country a jail and make it that you can't leave. How do I know beyond a reasonable doubt that North Korea sucks? Because they don't let people leave. Guys, what type of place that's sweet doesn't let you leave? Is jail sweet? They don't let you leave? No, it sucks. So if immigration is a thing that happens more, and countries allow immigrants to come and countries release immigrants to go real fast, we get to where just people just go. And if you have a country where lots of people are coming to and it's too many people and the standard of living is kind of starting to get shaky, people find out and people start moving out of there and going to a better country. Over time, this dynamic equilibrium develops, just like money for stocks in a stock market. If one corporation is not doing so hot, people pull their money and go to the other one. Now, this corporation recedes in stock price and people go, oh, that's pretty cheap. The fundamentals are still good. Let's pump money into this one. Over time, this raises the value of all corporations to insane levels. Just like that, we could have a situation on Earth where people move to the best countries, they on the margins leave the worst countries, move to the better countries, and after a while, most of the people in the world live in fucking amazing countries that had to adapt in order to attract more people. Because remember, more people for governments means more tax dollars, and for fellow citizens means more value generation and more money. Everyone's richer. So like, there's a huge incentive. If we legalize all immigration around the whole world just gets better way, way, way faster, which makes us all richer and all freer and all having a better time. Straight up. This radically incentivizes social change. If you think about it from another perspective, why are iPhones so good? Is it because the Apple Corporation just really nice? Not really. It's because if they don't make the iPhones good, Android is there to gobble up market share like a motherfucker, right? And so why is America so good in a world with fluid immigration, especially because if America's not great, Europe will take that labor force. You guys think them rich-ass people that live in New York and LA, if America, they always say before every election, they're like, oh, if the XYZ candidate gets elected, I'll leave. And they're almost always lying. But if America gets bad enough and Europe gets good enough, how many of them fucking leftists in the fucking coast do you think will stay? They always wanted to be European anyway. I'm not a big fan of America because like Europe just is like so much better. And you're like, all right, Stacey, go to Europe. It's like, well, I don't know. Like, technically speaking, I have a lot of land here. Like, I'm super fucking rich and America's actually insanely productive, but I like Europe because they smoke cigarettes. I don't know. But if Europe's really that much better, people are going to go. And if American politicians are like, holy fucking shit, we're losing people, we got to make this shit better. This is a thing that is not experimental. It's a totally viable model and it works right here today on Earth in the states of the United States. There's not a single state in the United States that can keep you against your will. And all states have free immigration. There's not a state that can tell you can't move. It just doesn't exist. So what happens with states in the United States? Some states go on the up and up. They get a good rep. People move in there. Things are great. Other states start doing not so well. People move out. And those states have really dog shit decisions to make their shit better. California used to be amazing. Now you're probably familiar with the fact that it's just losing people all the time. Why? Because it's starting to suck dick. And now the California politicians and the Californian people that remain have some really interesting decisions to make because people aren't coming over anymore. There's other places like Florida that recently have been doing a pretty good job, and people just pouring in there, Texas, Florida, and the government's there like, all right. They're highly incentivized to figure out like, why are people moving here? Okay, when we realize why people are moving here, we're going to make sure nobody's changing them goddamn policies, because these are the policies that are bringing us extra tax revenue, making us super important in the world, or whatever the hell motivates politicians. And the people in Texas whose businesses are thriving, who are land values going up, if someone's like, hey man, we really should change the structure of voting in Texas and do the same thing they were doing in California. Like, motherfucker, are you crazy? So we can fucking die on the vine like California is? Notice, California's not fucked for forever. They're just some number of years away from it getting bad enough to where the average person's like, enough. This bullshit isn't fucking working anymore. We need different people in office to steer us to the right direction. And then they'll elect some governor that's like, I'm prosperity driven and I want businesses in California. Because right now, just as an example, California for the last 20 years has been a kind of anti-business climate. Like, businesses to them are just like hostages that you just drain as much money out of as you can. For Texas, they're like, hey, like, we don't want tons of your tax money, just something reasonable, and we'll make an awesome regulatory environment for you so you can do business and get rich. Well, fuck, man. People are moving their businesses and their lives to Texas all the time. Californians are going to sooner or later find out that's happening. What's their incentive? They got to be good for business, man. There's no other way. Otherwise, California's a fucking shithole. And then who the fuck wants to move there? Over time, all of the states in the United States, because they compete with themselves, everybody wins because everything gets better. And if it's just getting better in one state, that state does real well and just keeps doing better and better. It's in the news. People move there. And other states are like, shit. How do we replicate the success of Florida? What do we do? They start thinking about it. Sometimes they get it wrong. A lot of times they get it right. Everything improves. That's what we can have in the world for immigration. And that's a fucking big deal. All right. Competition's great. You know, lots of conservatives are pro-free market. Let's do a free market in human labor all around the world. I think that's pretty fucking sweet. Lastly, upside of immigration is humanism. This is fucking lame because there's a lot of feelings, but there's something to it. Nobody should have to live in fucking Somalia or Belarus. No human being should have to live in North Korea. And I want to save every single fucking North Korean except one and bring them to America, because they're going to be so much goddamn better here than they are anywhere. No human deserve that. You ever see like a fucking like dirty flea-infested dog on the fucking side of the road? He's like, like, man, fuck that dog. What the fuck? No, you don't think that. You're like, oh my God, somebody needs to help that dog. That's everyone living in fucking, I don't know, 50% of the people living in sub-Saharan Africa right now, and 99% of the people living in North Korea. Immigration is good to get people the fuck out of terrible places because they're human. They're human just like you. And you're just a lucky asshole that happened to be born in a nice country. Period. So get them the fuck over here, fucking open up the border to some extent. I'll get to what extent in just a sec, because they're fucking human. The one person I don't want coming is Kim Jong-un. I think there's not really a terrible enough public humiliation that we could do for him to really like take away all the bad stuff he's done. I guess probably like tie him up on a pole and see, we don't do this because we're not animals like he is, but center like Times Square and like put a fence around him, but it's a see-through fence. And then just like put him up there naked and tie him to a pole and have people laugh at his tiny dick. I don't know. Maybe he'll get off on that. Scott, do you think that would embarrass him, or is he just like so much of a lizard-eyed sociopath that it just wouldn't even faze him? Anyway, bad things should happen to him. All right. So where does this take us? What does a rational proposal for immigration policy look like in light of all of these downsides and upsides? I'd say a couple things. So some things are, again, this is a very theoretical channel, very philosophical. I don't expect this is not real politics. This is not like, well, here, the Republicans in the next election should do this. No, fuck no. This is grand scheme kind of shit. So some of this is going to be quite different, but I think good. I think that there are 4 ifs. If a government has basic civil rights deeply embedded into their framework, and changing that framework needs a huge, overwhelming majority vote, like 85% or 90% plus to change, then you can bring in way more people from even really fucked up places that have dog shit cultures, because then they don't change the fundamentals. Like motherfuckers trying to bring Sharia law into the United States. Nope, you can be here and fucking do what you do, but you can't have Sharia law. And they're like, well, that's okay. We'll just vote it in. Like, sweet. Good luck being in the 85% majority anytime soon. That's not going to happen within centuries. And by then we'll all be robots. So who gives a shit? But if it takes a minority in a local region to violate the civil rights of the nation, yeah, no, immigration's bad because you get the bad people in there and they change the fucking culture. Really, really bad. So if government policy is really hard to change outside of a near consensus, that's a good start to immigration, because then you don't have to worry about new people coming in and fucking up your shit. Next, if you have no criminal record and bonus point, a college degree, and if you know that when you're coming to this country, you're eligible for welfare to help you, but the welfare just keeps you alive and housed, no frills, no lobster, no crab, none of this bullshit. The basic, almost embarrassing, barely humanizing essentials provided, so you just don't croak. And you get nothing extra in that welfare for at least 5 years after your arrival point. That highly decreases the probability that you're going to go to whatever country you want to go to, like Sweden, to just soak up the benefits. You know, you're sitting wherever you're sitting and you're like, let's go to Sweden. And they're like, why? Like, they have an amazing welfare state. And they're like, actually, they changed that. What do you mean? Like, well, I mean, they put you up in a warehouse, you get a bed, and you get food and basic medical care, and that's it. And they're like, well, what about like going to the store and stuff? Like, no, they don't actually give you any cash at all. And you just sit in that warehouse. And no one's trying to kill you, but then it's up to you to go find out how to speak language and get a job just like anyone else. And like, what the fuck? Well, when do we become eligible for the super welfare? Like, you got to hang out for like 5 years. Not a lot of people are going to be doing that, man. So fuck that. I'm not specific on the specifics here. I'm not saying this is exactly 5 years or exactly just barely eligible. But if you significantly reduce the welfare benefits for the first XYZ number of years for potential immigrants, the problem of people coming for your welfare substantially declines. And since all problems are relativistic in nature, very few are absolutes, you can knock out 95% of bad actors just by being like, look, you get only the bare essentials for 10 years. And then after that, you get the good welfare that everyone else does. Or as would be my vote, welfare means only the bare essentials for everyone. And then you really don't have people coming in to try to get the good stuff unless they're ready to work. And then, hey, welcome. And big one, if within whatever probationary period we set, and it should be nice and long, 5 to 10 years, before you can apply to citizenship, if you have any serious crime or delinquency, that gets you instantly fucking deported. And on a blacklist, you won't get to come back for another, I don't know, anywhere from 10 years to forever from now, because mistakes happen or whatever. If they know that they fuck up, immigrants, if they get into some bad shit, if they know they're not coming for the land of milk and honey welfare, if they don't have a criminal record, and potentially bonus if they have a college degree, and if the government structure is such that a lot of immigrants can't just change the entire structure of civil society just by voting them shit in. And if immigrants know this is made public by the nation that's inviting people in, as long as those things are in place, then it's come one, come all. As many people as we can get. The only realistic limit there is like labor and housing markets don't adjust immediately. So when I said earlier, like America would have 1.5 billion people the next year, that really would happen. But, you know, you just don't build ultrastructure that fast. So maybe you have like, you know, whatever cap is, you show like, okay, we can't build housing any faster than this, even with totally regulated housing. So you let the people kind of come in, you apply, you get approved, and it's like, hey, you're moving to America in 8 months. And they're like, why not now? Well, because like we just need to integrate people that came in before you, and there needs to be this kind of like, you know, when you open up the theater for people to come into the theater, you don't just say just run in and pour into the windows. You say, okay, 3 people at a time. That's how it works. If you do all that, then we want as many immigrants as possible, because immigration makes us all culturally enriched. It makes us all wealthier. People do jobs that otherwise don't get done. And there's a human side to it, because we're all on the same team anyway, Team Earth. And I don't want regular people to just have the misfortune of being born in a shithole place, like I did, to have to stay there. Fuck that. If we didn't have immigration in the United States, your boy would be fucking face down, dead in a field, hopefully killed by Ukrainians at this point. So that would be really bad. In any case, immigration is awesome. It's a huge net benefit for society. If we control for factors like crime and people being opportunistic on welfare and changing the culture writ large as soon as they show up, then I think as much immigration as possible is a good thing. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll see you guys next time.